Well, hello, our fellow friends, our fellow neighbors, and our fellow shining stars. Our next trolley stop is here, and our next trolley stop is now. Welcome back to another all-new episode of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. To be precise, we have reached episode number 129. The 129th trolley stop here on the Children's Book Spotlight Series as we put the finishing touches on the 3-year anniversary celebration of this program that we have been celebrating all month long. My name is John Masiulionis, the manager here at Empowered Publicity and the host of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. Thank you for spending some time with us wherever you are and wherever you may be. We hope that you are enjoying the start of your autumn season as we are now looking ahead to the upcoming holiday season. It's hard to believe that it's the final quarter of 2021, and sooner than we know it, the brand new year will be upon us. You know, one of the important things about life is to remember to dream, not just when we're sleeping, but to be able to have heartfelt dreams and desires and goals, and to remind ourselves that they're possible to achieve for us as adults, especially for our little ones as well too. It's important that we as parents and caregivers and custodians of our little ones, that we take the time to celebrate with our children each and every day, to remind them to have more faith and trust in themselves and the process of life. And yes, it's very true. Children's imaginations are boundless, and their dreams should be as well. And one of the cool things about children's books is that they continue to provide healing for all of us throughout this year of 2021. And of course, that's going to be the case leading into the forthcoming new year. One of the most beautiful children's books. I've been super excited about this particular episode of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. I always love going to my local Barnes & Noble here in the San Diego area, checking out some of the wonderful new children's books. And one of the most beautiful books of 2021 we are going to be showcasing here this week. The trolley is going to be racking up some mileage. Momentarily, we're going to be going from San Diego all the way to North Carolina. We encourage all of you, our listeners and viewers, our friends and neighbors, and of course our fellow shining stars, to head on over to Amazon.com. If that is your preferred online vehicle of choice, you can also head on over to the official website of our featured guest here on the Children's Book Spotlight Series, Jill Roman-Lord. You can head on over to her official website, jillromanlord.com. You can purchase your copy of Dream Big, My Precious One, which is courtesy of our friends and neighbors at WorthyKids. Great name of a publishing company, by the way. And of course, while you're on Amazon as well, you can purchase your copy of Jill's other brand new children's book, You're More Than a Sprout. I actually eat sprouts quite regularly every day for lunch and dinner, so I look forward to talking about that book as well too. If you feel guided to do so, feel free to leave a 5-star review for both Dream Big, My Precious One and You're More Than a Sprout. Again, the trolley's headed now from San Diego all the way to North Carolina. Joining us as our featured guest here on episode number 129 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series, Jill Roman-Lord. Jill, we really appreciate your free time and joining us here on the program to close out our 3-year anniversary celebration of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. How are things with you today?
Oh, things are great. Thank you. It's my honor to be here and help you celebrate 3 years. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. And it's interesting because, you know, when, and of course, well, first of all, where are my manners? If this message in this episode is already inspiring you, if it's bringing more hope and love and joy into your heart, if you're saying, you know what, John and Jill, before you begin your heartfelt conversation, I'm dreaming big and I'm encouraging my little ones to do the exact same. And maybe you're eating some sprouts while enjoying episode number 129 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. We encourage you to subscribe to Empowered Publicity's official YouTube channel if you haven't had the opportunity to do so, and to share this very special trolley stop. That is episode number 129 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. So as I mentioned to you, Jill, in the Empowered Publicity Green Room, I always love to spend time at my local Barnes & Noble and check out some of the amazing new children's books. And there's experiences that I've had when I go to a bookstore. It can be a Barnes & Noble or an independent bookstore, and there's like a book that's across the yonder way, and it's like calling to you, right? And I think that that's really cool about children's books. I just want to take the time, as I always do at the beginning of each episode, to recognize you and all of the wonderful work that you are doing for children, for parents, for families, for educators, for those who love great children's books, because there's a lot of distractions. There's been a lot of noise in the world over these past 18 months. And when there's something such as your book, the wonderful energy and messages that are contained within it, it's something that deserves to be recognized, and you deserve to be recognized. So I wanted to start off our conversation by sharing that, if I may.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I'm fascinated to learn more about your journey, because I can tell that you're very connected to your heart, that you care about children, and the way in which you're sharing these messages. You know, there's a lot of children's books and they all serve their purpose. There's some that just talk about fun messages. There's some that talk about self-love and kindness. But I feel all of us have a spiritual connection in some way, shape, or form. Sometimes people might be very upfront and say, hey, I'm a Christian. Some people may just say, I'm spiritual. Some people may say, I'm not religious or spiritual at all, but deep down in some capacity, we all are, I feel. Could you share this a little bit about your journey to becoming a children's author in the process, and really why you wanted to be able to share these kinds of messages for our little ones at this point in time?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for asking. It was a while ago, and as most authors, I've always loved writing. And then by the time you get to college, I went to a great school that had a great journalism school, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with that. And my father had lost his job, and I wanted a job that I was certain would be able to support a family if I needed to. And I went into nursing. So when I was working as a, when I started writing, I was working as a nurse anesthetist part-time. I had 2 kids, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. Life was good. Everything was fine and hunky-dory. And then all of a sudden I had this fire in my heart that I had to write for publication. And I was just like, what am I going to write? I had nothing. All I had was the fire. So it took me a couple weeks to come up with an idea, and I decided I would write a children's devotional. That was my first book. And so it's like, all right, I work part-time. The other days I was enjoying time with my kids. So it's like, all right, Lord, if you want me to write, you have got to provide the time for me. Right away, the next morning, he'd wake me up at dark 30 in the morning. And so I was like, okay. So I'd get up out of bed and grab my coffee, paper, and pen, and I started writing. This was back in the day before I used computers, like 1995 or 96, I think. And so every day on my day off, he woke me up. I never set an alarm, and I would just pop up and write before the girls woke up. So I did that for about 6 months until I had it finished. And then I handed it to my husband and said, here, will you type this up for me? And he's like, whoa, if you want to be an author, you have got to learn to use the computer. So I took a class through work and typed it up, bought a book on how to get published, followed it step by step. I got my year's worth of rejection letters, and then a positive nibble and a contract.
That's so wonderful. And I'm really glad that you're sharing about how you really tuned into what God was telling you to do. Now, some people, they'll be very open in their connection to God. Some people may have more of a connection to the Holy Spirit, or just, classify it as spirit. Sometimes people might just do their part to trust what they may call their higher self. But again, there really is some form of a connection that we have, within us that yet is beyond us, if this makes sense. And you share on your website a beautiful quote, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken, from Psalm chapter 40, verse 8. And it says, a desire to do your will, oh my God, your law is within my heart. It's very easy in this world that we live in to be in our ego. And even when we have spiritual connection, you probably have heard the term your spiritual ego. And it's very easy to say, I want to sell this many hundreds of thousands of books, or I want to be a New York Times bestselling author, or USA Today bestselling author, or Wall Street Journal bestselling author. It's very easy to be all up in here and focus on the quantification of things. What were some of the things that helped you early on and are still helping you as of right now to stay grounded? Because it would be very easy again to kind of go and say, hey, I've been doing this work for a long period of time. I'm published by some great publishing companies, including WorthyKids, and just kind of be more up in here versus in your heart. So what are some of the things that you've found that have been helpful to keep you grounded and staying within your heart and focused on what God is telling you to do?
You just have to keep doing the next thing, write the next story. And you go to bookstores, you're like, okay, this is a hot topic. I'm going to write on this. And, I get home and there's nothing. I've learned that you just have to wait for the inspiration. And it's not about me. It may not be anything that I have desired to write, but it's like, oh, okay, we'll give it a shot. And, it might turn into something beautiful. You just have to keep trusting that if the Lord gives you an idea, he's going to see it through, and you don't know who it's going to touch, who it's for, how many. Of course, as authors, we all need to have our platforms, and in order to get it out to as many people as possible. But people can see it, but you can't make them buy it, So it's just a matter of doing your part, getting it out there, and let God do the rest, and touch the people and bring it to the people that can benefit from these books.
And I'm really glad that you share this, because again, a lot of the times as human beings, we want to try to figure things out. One of the expressions I kind of laugh at now in hindsight is maybe you probably heard yourself say this at some point in time, or friends or colleagues, I got to make this happen. I got to make this happen. And I feel that, yes, don't get me wrong. Anything that God is asking us to do requires necessary action steps. I always joke around. There's a well-known spiritual teacher by the name of Matt Kahn. He kind of uses this little parable that he talks about how if the infant baby Jesus dropped off a $5 million check on your doorstep, you'd still have to know what to do with it, right? It's so important to be able to take those necessary guided action steps. A large part of the Children's Book Spotlight series, those that tune in are aspiring writers or even first-time authors that are just bringing their messages into the world. Before we share both of these wonderful brand new children's books that you've released here this year, I always like to be able to ask the featured guests that join the program, specifically speaking, to be vulnerable, because again, we are all human beings, and we can all, as we're growing, as we're learning, as we're doing new things, as we're stepping into the next part of our mission and our purpose and our path, we can have insecurities, right? And then in the process, we can also have challenges and difficulties and obstacles and problems and stressors and troubles and worries. They all still kind of mean the same thing. What were some of the things that you've experienced between early on, even to this particular point, in terms of those challenges and obstacles in being a writer, in sharing these books, getting the messages out there? And what were some of the things that come to mind that have helped you to get through to the other side of those challenges and obstacles?
Well, that's a great question, because as writers, you have got to have thick skin. There's going to be rejection, and it hurts. It really hurts. You can write a fabulous book, but you can't make it get published, from a publishing house. You can absolutely publish it on your own. I did not feel that in my heart. But after my first book, I think I had 4 or 5 years of rejection. And I remember thinking, okay, maybe this isn't what the Lord wants me to do. Maybe it was just this one book and I quit. It's like, okay, God, you show me what you want me to do, what the next thing is. And I had always gone to this writers conference, Christian writers conference in Florida. I looked forward to it every year and loved it. And it's like, okay, I quit. I'm not a writer. I'll just see where the Lord wants to take me. And he placed it on my heart to go to this writers conference. So I was like, all right, I'll go, but you have got to tell me, Lord, if you want me to keep writing or not. And he spoke to me very clearly. It was through several people, you get the positive kudos, but I'm like, no, Lord, I want to hear from you. And I was standing by this swamp area in Florida, whining to God, leaning against this tree, saying, all right, Lord, you've got to talk to me. I heard this scratching noise and this constant scratching noise. So I was like, stopped my whining, looked up and saw this squirrel up there in this tree scratching at this nut. And I knew in my heart he was going to get that nut unless he threw it down and quit. that was all I needed to hear. It was like, the Lord was talking to me through this squirrel, and I had thrown down the prize, thrown down my nut and quit. So ever since then, I've stayed persistent, and that's what I needed. But you hit rejection, and you've just got to tell yourself, if you feel like the Lord brought you to it, just to keep on pushing through, stay persistent. Know there's going to be rejection, there's going to be heartache, but the Lord will see your dream through.
I'm really glad that you're sharing this, and this is leading us to what we'll be sharing next. Again, for those of you who are just tuning in, we appreciate you spending some time with us here in our neighborhood. Episode number 129 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight Series. Joining us is our featured guest, award-winning children's author, Jill Roman Lord. We are sharing both of her brand new children's books. We're about ready to dive inside the pages of Dream Big, My Precious One, which is now available courtesy of our friends and neighbors at WorthyKids. You can also head on over to Laura's official website, jillromanlord.com, and you can purchase her other brand new children's book, You're More Than a Sprout. While on Amazon, if that is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, you can leave 5-star reviews for both of Jill's brand new children's books, and that serves as a reminder to her that she's doing such great work for children, parents, families, educators, and everyone that loves great children's books in the process. I feel that, over the course of these past 18 months with the pandemic, we've really learned a lot. The importance of patience and really planting seeds. You probably heard of the parable, all you need is faith the size of a mustard seed. And many of us, sometimes it can be a little frustrating where it's like, here you are, you're planting the seeds, and it's kind of like, hey, God, where's my tomatoes? Or where's my green peppers? Or where's my cucumbers? And I think especially with us being parents and caregivers and custodians of our children, I really love the message of Dream Big, My Precious One, because even just the way in which you share the message of dreaming and the many things that our little ones can be, it's very easy to have this narrow-minded view of like, okay, for example, let's say, someone's great-great-grandfather was a doctor, and then their grandfather was a doctor, and then, their father was a doctor. That must mean that you must be the doctor as well, too. And it's so important for us to not only encourage our kids to dream and to imagine, but to also connect with what they want to do. They're their own living, breathing beings. One of my favorite expressions is that, and I might be mispronouncing and misphrasing this, but it's basically children come through us. A lot of times, we can want to have these possessive relationships, like this is my son, this is my daughter. It's like they're really children of God. They're able to do what it is that they feel guided to do. Before we talk specifically about the book, could you share with us, could you take us back in that Wayback Machine to when this specific message was planted in your heart, when the seeds for Dream Big, My Precious One were first planted, and really why you wanted to be able to share this specific message about helping little ones connect to the message of dreaming and really expanding their horizons and imaginations?
Well, it started as being a mom. You always wonder what that little bundle is going to become. What did God put in this package? The gifts, the talents. And then it's fun as your kids grow, you can see some of those talents come through. And just as a mom, I just wanted a book that would encourage the dreaming, and encouraging them to be the best that they can be, and that it's okay to fall short. It's okay, to get rejection and, to miss the goal or fall short. But just to keep going, because it's what God places in your heart from a very early age. So, I just wanted a book like that as a mom, as a caregiver, just, even babysitters and aunts and uncles can read these kind of books to the children and just encourage them.
This book has such a beautiful arc as well, too. What we're showing now on screen is the first part of the book. I love to hold you close to me, imagining all that you might be, the things you'll do the sights you'll see. And it basically starts off with, you know, the sun beginning. Would you classify this, by the way, as more of a sunrise or a sunset? Because it can kind of, depending upon the interpretation, it can actually look like one or both.
I think it starts as the sunrise, and then at the end of the book, you see the sunset.
Correct. And then at the very end of the book, you have the mom and their little one, and they're looking at the stars in the sky and the moon above, and it says, "For now I'll hold you close to me, embracing all that you might be. He'll take you far, just trust and see." And what in between those two spreads is just pure magic. Talk to us about the creation of this and the process of putting this together, because Brittany Lakin, who is your illustrator, I think that, you know, a lot of people who tune into the Children's Book Spotlight series may know that a lot of times illustrators and authors, they're in two different locales. They may not even have the opportunities to meet one another. Sometimes if you go down the route of self-publishing, you might work with your illustrator, and it kind of might be like you're on the phone, you know, a couple hours a day and talking about the book. But in most instances, that's not the case. So could you share with us really more about how this message was coming to life, and when you were starting to see the illustrations that Brittany was creating for this book, how you knew that everything was just blending together so beautifully?
Oh, well, I just had a total blast writing this book. When you try and imagine all the careers out there, and I wanted to touch on all the different ones. When I saw the pictures, they sent me the PDF of the finished artwork, and I saw that she was putting what would typically be male careers. She put a girl in there, and some things you imagine girls to do, she put boys in. It's like, I love that. It's brilliant, and it's across all the different races, and there's special needs children in there. So it's supposed to touch everybody. So Brittany did a fabulous job, and you're absolutely correct. I've had no communication with her. It all goes through the publisher. With any of my books, I've never had any communication with the illustrator. But when you see, I've had pictures in my mind of what it's going to be like, but then when I saw Brittany's pictures, she far surpassed anything I would have dreamed of for this book. She did a fabulous job.
It's so colorful. It's so vibrant. Let's be honest, over these past 18 months, we've seen a lot of darkness. And, a lot of it I feel was very deep and buried. It seems that, many people who had fears and insecurities, I do feel one of the silver linings that came from the pandemic is to be able to face your fears. And in order to be able to face your fears, it's important that you have trust in God. One of the big resonating themes, it's shared in different ways throughout the book, it's kind of that positive subliminal message for little ones, is keep your faith, keep your trust in God, and know that He's with you. This is a twofold question. For us as adults, right, we still have our inner child within us, and we can freak out and we can be afraid very easily, just like our little ones. We always like to be able to provide some words of encouragement, some support, as well as some practical tools that can help those that tune into the Children's Book Spotlight series, that they can implement and integrate into their own lives and help them pass that information along to their little ones. How can we do our part to have more faith and trust in God at this point in time, moving forward from here, and encourage our little ones to do the exact same?
I think when we build a strong foundation in Christ at an early age, it just becomes part of their fabric, the children's fabric of who they are. It just becomes less of a decision and just part of who they are. And I think, reading Christian-based and, books of encouragement, for children and even on our own, helping us grow, a lot of the nonfiction books, getting in the Word, reading that, finding the heart of Jesus and who He is, and knowing that He wants the best for each of us, and He wants to place His desires within our heart, and will help us make them come true. I think just teaching your kids early and praying with them and watching prayers get answered.
I think those are very important words to be able to share, especially right now, because, things are starting to open up, things are starting to expand. Some people may believe that we're not out of the woods yet with kind of everything that's going on in the world right now, but I really feel that, I feel that you have three things. You have faith, and then you have trust, and then you have a knowing. When you have a knowing in your heart, it's this years of faith, years of trust, years of watering the seeds, planting more seeds, and you get to that knowing. So for example, it's now approaching 1 year since I've been out here in San Diego, and I moved from Buffalo, New York, where I spent my entire life, here to San Diego. And even when it may have looked like, how in the heck is this going to happen? And people were saying, so John, you're moving to California. How's this going to happen? Just you, not even a goldfish or a dog, just you. You're going to go cross country. Don't you know that California is more expensive than Buffalo? So there were different, I don't necessarily want to call them naysayers, but people that on the surface it could have looked like were planting, doubt in my mind, or could have, had me create more doubt in my heart, in my mind. And there was this knowing that I had. I knew that I needed to get out to San Diego. One of my long-term visions is opening up a children's hospice for terminally ill children here in San Diego. And I love this passage of the book. This leads me into why I'm sharing this, is we're sharing this on screen. You see, your dreams aren't just for you. They'll help out other people to change lives in ways you never knew. I really love how you're connecting that thread of how your dreams and your heartfelt desires, yes, they're for us as well to live beautiful lives, but at the same point in time, we have the opportunities to make other people's lives better and create positive, lasting change in the world. Could you talk to us a little bit about that, especially when it comes to holding space for our children so that whatever it is that they want to do for the rest of their life can come true, but to remind them that you're able to help other people too in the process?
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you asked. The dreams God places in our hearts are not ones that we can just go out and achieve and say, okay, that's done. The God-sized dreams are so big that you're going to need God to help you achieve those. And even through that, there's going to be opposition. There's going to be naysayers. There's going to be failures. But that's when we learn what we can from those experiences, pull up our boots again and just keep doing the next thing we know to do. And we just have to keep trusting God that if He's placed it in our heart and He knows this can happen. And the dream is not just, like you said, not just for us. All big dreams will help others. It was said, I think Bruce Wilkinson, in one of his books, said, comfort is for ourselves. Dreams are for others. Mm-hmm. Our dreams are to help others. So you do have to get out of your comfort zone. God's going to stretch us. And when He stretches us, it stretches our faith and our trust in Him. But if we stay in our comfort zone, we're doing nothing but making ourselves comfortable. So in order to get those big dreams, like you going to California, I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. That's hard. As an adult, to step out of your comfort zone, go into the unknown, trust God, and it's almost like you couldn't not do it. If you stayed in Buffalo, you're in your comfort zone. It's what you know, and you know what life is like there. But following your heart, going on, that's huge. I'm so proud of you for doing that. And that's part of what achieving these big dreams is. It's trusting God, feeling alone at sometimes, but trusting that He'll see it through.
And this leads us into talking about your other brand new children's book. But before we continue on, a little reminder for all of our friends and neighbors, our listeners and viewers, and of course, our fellow shining stars. Joining us as our featured guest during episode number 129 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. We're beginning to wind down our time with Jill Roman Lord, award-winning children's author, who is joining us we have just shared her brand new release, courtesy of our friends and neighbors at WorthyKids, Dream Big, My Precious One, that is now available, again, by heading on over to Jill's official website, jillromanlord.com. If Amazon is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing, you can leave a 5-star review for Dream Big, My Precious One. Again, that's one of the wonderful ways that you can remind and encourage Jill that she's continuing to do great work for children, parents, families, educators, and for those who love great children's books. I also wanted to talk briefly about You're More Than a Sprout, because here we are, we're talking about, honoring the call in our heart. And sometimes it's like, whoa, like I'm meant to do this. This is what God is asking me to do. And little bamboo seed in You're More Than a Sprout is starting to realize that there's bigger plans for us. There's a Christian band called Cloverton that I've really connected with. I saw them. They performed years ago, and I was going through a real interesting time in my life. They literally performed at a church that was within walking distance of my apartment, and they have a song called Great Plans, and the whole resonating theme of the song is great plans I have for you. And there were times when I'm like, what are these great plans? Why me, little old me? How can I go about doing this? And those are my fears and insecurities speaking. And that can be the case for a lot of adults. That can be the case for a lot of parents who have little ones, who even have worries about themselves or worries about their children. Could you talk to us about the creation of this book? Because it has such a powerful message. The fact that, yes, on the surface, it could look like we're just a sprout, we're just like a speck in the infinite creation, but that really we are very important pieces of the puzzle, and that we are called to do very important things. Can you talk to us about the creation of your other beautiful children's book?
Yes. So I don't remember what I was doing where I had learned that it takes bamboo, and apparently I've been corrected that it's not all bamboo, but I guess a specific kind, this Chinese bamboo, that, sprouts like once, or set seeds free like once every 100 years, something like that, 130 years. And then they lay in the ground dormant for, up to 10 years when it's not doing anything. And I'm like, this is huge. This is life. This is what dreams are. This is trusting in God. And so I attempted to write a story about a little bamboo seed. and I was just thrilled when B&H Kids picked it up. And again, this illustrator is just phenomenal. It's like she had to work with a bamboo seed. I'm not an illustrator. I didn't know how to, what that would turn out with, but it's the cutest little seed, and she did an amazing job. It was fun seeing those pictures come to life.
And I'm so glad that you're talking about this message, because, when you have your faith and trust, you always get help from the universe. You always get help from God. Talk to us, if you could, as we begin to wind down our time, the importance of leaving room in your mind, in your heart, and in your life for miracles to come in. We were joking around in the Empowered Publicity Green Room about how many of us have said for a long period of time, I got to make this happen. And there are many people that feel that they literally have to put in effort and exertion into making their dreams come true. It still requires work. It still requires necessary guided action steps, but you have to leave room for that divine magic to come through. Why do you feel that's really important for us as adults, for our children, to leave room for that divine spark, for the magic and for the miracles to be able to come in?
When you leave room for that, you know that your dream is from God then, and then it is going to affect other people. There are people out there who want to make $1 gazillion and build themselves a mansion and do what they will with it. But unless they are sharing that or being a role model for other people or whatever God's plan may be for that, then it's all for naught, because you can't take this stuff with you. But when you can touch lives, whether you're touching lives or not, but you're pursuing your dream, you don't know exactly why or where it's going to go, But you just have to keep doing heart checks. Is this really what God wants me to do? And I think that that's where he speaks in your heart. I mean, he can speak to people however they want to, but however you feel like God is speaking to you and placing within your heart, like you knew you had to move to California, and it's almost a feeling that if I don't do this, what am I going to do? And it was the same thing with first writing my first book. It was a dream of mine from a child to write a book. And then when I became a nurse, I wanted to write a book and have my books available in the hospital. And God has made this come through in ways that I couldn't even imagine. So we just have to keep doing heart checks and staying in scripture, keeping the relationship with Jesus, and trusting him that he'll lead the way. And your dream is not going to be just for you, but it's going to touch so many more people than you can ever imagine.
And I feel that this is where, children's books play a very important and pivotal role. Yours are very much leading the way in the process. For those who are tuning in this week to the Children's Book Spotlight series that are going through their own challenges right now, that are wondering if it's truly even possible for their dreams to come to fruition. I feel that it's, as you said, it's very easy to stay in the comfort zone, stay in that rut of the familiar, and just wondering, like, when am I going to get that big break? When am I going to be able to write my first children's book? When am I going to be able to start a family? For those who are experiencing their own challenges, their own worries right now, especially tied into that, what would be some words of encouragement and support that you would like to share for those that feel that way and whose little ones may also be going through a challenge or two of their own right now? What are some words of encouragement and support that you want to be able to share for those that are feeling that achieving their dreams aren't possible?
You have to remember that God is in the business of doing the impossible. We can't on our own do the impossible. If it's going back to school, you may not have the money, you may not have the childcare, but if you've got the desire, you've just got to trust. Think of who can watch your kids. Think of, what kind of grants you can get, what kind of scholarships. If there's community colleges you can start with, you take baby steps, but just know God has a dream for everybody. And it's a dream to touch others. This is what the kingdom is that God has designed. We're all here to help each other, to use our gifts and talents that he's given us for his glory and to help others along the way. Everything is going to seem impossible if it's from God to do on our own. So you just have to trust and do the next thing that he places on your heart. He will help you find a way.
And I love that you share that, because on the back of Dream Big, My Precious One, it's a beautiful reminder. So there are times when you get to that dream and it's here and it's all happening right now in the present moment. When you reach your dreams and soar, ask God to help you dream up more. Because I think that many of us right now, if we choose to believe this, we're stepping into a point where we can have love and joy and happiness and success and be of service to other people. That you can have, that it's just a matter of staying grounded, staying patient, loving yourself even more, having even more faith and trust in God and the universe and all of these wonderful things. Two beautiful ways that we like to close out each of our episodes on the Children's Book Spotlight series, Joe. We always like to give a little tip of the cap to one of our favorite neighbors, the beloved Mr. Rogers. Many people, of course, remember Fred Rogers as the host of the long-running, successful children's television program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, that aired for many decades on PBS. When he received his Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmy shortly before he passed from stomach cancer, and he did this in various college commencement speeches and other talks across the country. And he always kept the time, Joe, whether it be 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or a full minute. He encouraged us to remember those who helped love us into being. And that was his way of saying, recognize and remember the people that were on your path and that are on your path now, that help you dream, that help you connect to your highest and best self. So we always like to take some time at the closing of each of our episodes in the Children's Book Spotlight. There's not only a little tip of the cap to Fred, but to be able to just, put more of that energy out there. Who are some of the people that you would like to publicly recognize here in episode number 129 of the Children's Book Spotlight series that helped love you, Jill Roman Lord, into being?
Well, of course, my parents, who did build a foundation of Christ from an early age, Sunday school and church, and also a ninth grade teacher, Miss Hopkins, who called me out of class one day. She was my creative writing teacher, handed me a blank journal and told me to keep writing. She saw something in me. And as a ninth grader, that touched my heart. She's no longer alive. But just, if we can notice something in somebody else and encourage them in some way, it makes a huge difference. But I'd like to.
And, one of the things that, and thank you for sharing that, one of the things that Mr. Rogers also said based on that is that, some of those people that help love us into being, they may be near, they may be far away, they may be in heaven. And we also encourage all of you who are tuning into episode number 129 of the Children's Book Spotlight series to take those few present moments and to remember those that help love you into being, not even just because the holiday season is now almost upon us, but take that time every day, because that will help you to stay grounded, to stay connected to your heart, and to remember there is so much that you are here to achieve and to fulfill in terms of your path and your purpose. We also like to give a little tip of the cap, Jill, as we conclude this beautiful episode, which has been so fantastic. One of my favorite Disney animated films growing up was Disney's Aladdin. And of course, many of us remember the late Robin Williams, who played the genie of the lamp. And I really believe that all of us as, human beings, brothers and sisters, open hearts, kindred spirits, beautiful souls, we are helping other people, in addition to ourselves, to bring our heartfelt dreams, desires, and goals to form and shape. And sometimes you get a little help from a genie lamp. And yes, I always have a little genie lamp here in my office. This is where we head into the 3 wishes portion of the Children's Book Spotlight series episode. So you are being given 3 wishes, Jill. You've given so freely and lovingly from your heart to your family, to those in North Carolina, to children, parents, families, and educators across the country and around the world. So you are being given 3 wishes. Now, they can be for yourself, they can be for your family, they can be for the children of the world, they can be for the planet. What would your 3 wishes be, Jill?
Right now, I wish that COVID would disappear, that we don't hear any more COVID, we don't see any more COVID, that COVID is a thing of the past, that we just need to get beyond this. 3 wishes. That's one. I wish that hunger would end. I can't imagine all these kids being starving every day. That needs to end. And, that we could just love each other. We're all so different. God made us each different for a purpose, so that we could all use our talents and gifts to bless each other. And if we can just put our differences aside and just learn to love each other and to accept each other, that would be my 3rd wish.
They're all beautiful wishes. And I feel that it's very important. It's very important to tune into our hearts, to remember our own wishes, and help other people in the process to bring theirs to form and shape. This has been such a wonderful trolley stop, don't you think? Raise your hands, plural, if you've had fun on episode number 129 of the Empowered Publicity Children's Book Spotlight series. Jill's raising her hands, I'm raising my hands. We see the hands of the little ones on screen. This has been a wonderful way to conclude, to put that beautiful little pink bow on the 3-year anniversary celebration of the Children's Book Spotlight series. But the trolley's going to keep on going. There's no end in sight. When you join us for episode number 130 of the Children's Book Spotlight series, we will begin the 4th year of this program as we look forward to sharing some of the most beautiful and inspiring children's books from our shining stars in the kidlit community. If you are a children's author, if you are a children's illustrator, and you would like to share your inspiring story in the release of your brand new children's book or books, As Jill just did here this week, we encourage you to head on over to our official website at empoweredpublicity.com, where you can connect with us via any of our social media platforms that you now see on screen. Facebook and Instagram at Empowered Publicity, and Twitter at Empowered_PR. We also do want to give two little tips of the cap. One to one of our favorite neighbors. We just mentioned the aforementioned Mr. Rogers. If you remember Mr. Rogers, and you will very much remember Mr. McFeely, who played the mailman Speedy Delivery on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. So you remember him as Mr. McFeely. We know him, we love him each and every month as David Newell, who played Mr. McFeely in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He joins us for brand new episodes of the Neighborly Reviews bookcast, where David and we deliver heartfelt reviews from the newest brand new children's books from the shining stars in the kidlit community here at Empowered Publicity. If you would like for David and I to feature your brand new children's book on the Neighborly Reviews bookcast, you know where to connect with us at empoweredpublicity.com or any of our social media platforms on screen. And also a little tip of the cap to one of our favorite neighbors here in San Diego, Laura Kavanaugh, the host and executive producer of San Diego Living, which is the official home of Empowering Reads for Kids, which airs monthly on CBS 8, the CW San Diego here in San Diego. If you would like to have Laura and I share your brand new children's book and connect with the hearts and the minds and the souls of children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books here in San Diego, California. If you would like to have your brand new children's book reviewed and featured on Empowering Reads for Kids, you can head on over to our official website, empoweredpublicity.com, or connect with us via any of our social media platforms, again, in the process. And if you're interested in more information on how we can be of service to you here at Empowered Publicity, here as we celebrate our 8th year of PR from the Heart. If you're interested in us facilitating a book and media tour in a city of your choosing, a featured television interview or interviews in a city of your choosing, or if you would like more information on our media coaching and mentoring program, you can schedule your courtesy discovery call by heading on over to our official website at empoweredpublicity.com and let us see how we can be of service to you. One final time, we encourage you to head on over to Jill's official website, jillromanlord.com. You can also head on over to amazon.com if that is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing. You can purchase your copies of Dream Big, My Precious One, along with Jill's other brand new children's book, You're More Than a Sprout, while on Amazon, if that is your preferred online vehicle of your choosing. You can leave 5-star reviews for Jill, as again, that is one of the many ways that you can remind her and share with her that she is doing incredible work for children, parents, families, educators, and those who love great children's books at this particular point in time. And such beautiful messages that we're talking about here in episode number 129 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear more about Dream Big, My Precious One towards the end of 2021. So we'll leave that as a little cliffhanger for now for Jill and for all of your listeners and viewers and our fellow friends and neighbors and shining stars in the process. As we hear the trolley, that means that it is time to go. So we want to thank all of you for your continued support over the past 3 years, and especially this month as we've been celebrating the 3-year anniversary of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. We want to thank you for your continued support of Empowered Publicity. We want to thank you for your support of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. We want to thank you for all of your support for children's authors and children's illustrators that are doing such fantastic work, especially right now leading into the upcoming holiday season. We want to thank you for all of your support of children's bookstores, independent bookstores, and libraries all across the country and all around the world. But before we officially conclude, if this message has inspired you, if it's brought more love and joy into your heart, if you say, John, you know what, this little sprout's ready to burst out and grow and fulfill all of my dreams and desires and heartfelt wishes, and I'm going to encourage my little one or little ones to do the exact same, we encourage you, if you haven't had the chance to do so, to subscribe to Empowered Publicity's official YouTube channel and share this very special trolley stop that was episode number 129 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. But again, above all else, we want to thank you for helping us to walk home, children of the world. So for Jill Roman Lord, for myself, John Masiulionis, this has been episode number 129 of the Children's Book Spotlight Series. We will see all of you once again very soon for another magical trolley stop of the Children's Book Spotlight Series as we continue on now into the 4th year of this beautiful and inspiring program. Again, thank you for helping us to walk home the children of the world. Goodbye for now.